and 86-mile-per-hour winds within this as well. So this storm has the capability of producing a tornado, and we'll wait to see if we have any reports of a tornado on the ground. So because we have the rotation, it's very possible that we will see some of this making its way to the surface. And we have another severe thunderstorm warning within the storm system as well. So this is just a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings around the storm cell. I'll go ahead and clear this out. I'll put reflectivity back on here. This has been a very busy afternoon. Take a little larger look here, and we'll take it back about 30 minutes so you can see this in motion, where we've had these strong storms continuing to push off to the northeast. And now we're starting to see some rotation, which isn't really surprising. We have a lot of instability in the atmosphere, bringing these strong storms that are allowing them to really explode over the area. We had some heavier downpours in the Indianapolis area as well. But right now we have the strongest storms that are stretching from Johnson County into Bartholomew County, making its way into Decatur County, Hancock County as well. So I'll go ahead and pause this again so we can take a look here at this storm. Again, this is the actual tornado portion of this storm cell is south of Shelbyville. I'll zoom in here a little bit closer where we are likely also seeing some large hail. Prescott, Middletown, Lantana Estate. So some of these areas are likely some suburbs, but it's making its way towards Blue Ridge, Rays Crossing, and eventually getting to Gowdy and Moscow. I know there's still a lot of farmland in this area, but if you are in this area, please get to your safe spot, as we are seeing some rotation within the storm and very, very strong winds as well. So the winds have been, looking here, it's 56 to 80 mile-per-hour winds out of this storm. And we also have the severe thunderstorm warnings that are also within the vicinity of this polygon. So the tornado warning is within this polygon of a severe thunderstorm warning, and that lasts until 4:30 as well. Now we also have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for portions of Connorsville, and so that's Fayette County, and then Cambridge City also under that warning, as well as Richmond. So Wayne County under a severe thunderstorm warning, as well as Fayette. It'll eventually go into Union County. And obviously we still have the severe thunderstorm warnings to the west of that area. So we're going to just see this area, east central Indiana, really getting hit pretty hard. This area has been pretty quiet today, as well as any areas really honestly south of I-70. We had more storms earlier this morning in west central, northwest central Indiana, but now we're really starting to see these storms taking off. Hail, let's go ahead and take a look at our hail swath here. So this is depicting possible hail within these storms. I'll zoom out a little farther. Martinsville likely had some heavier hail under that probable to likely category. And again, these are with the same storm systems. So again, this storm is very intense. It is producing heavy rain, a lot of lightning, as well as rotation within these storms. And again, this tornado warning is going on until 4:30. I have been advised to stay on the air with you until the end of this, and we'll see if this continues to hold together and moves off to the east. But right now we do know this is continuing to move very quickly off to the northeast, about 50 miles per hour. We also have had some reports of very strong winds within these storms. 4 miles west-southwest of Columbus, there is a report that some large trees were down. So we do know that there's very strong winds within the storm system. Putting back on the velocity, we're still seeing a little bit of rotation within this storm, and again, very strong winds. This area is what we're watching out for, is that possibility of a tornado that could make its way to the ground. So something that we watch out for that could have some impacts to you and your home. And nonetheless, even if this isn't making its way all the way to the ground, we know that this system has very strong winds with it. As I've been putting on here, the winds have been in excess of 85 miles per hour. Now they are starting to die down a little bit, but they're still above severe status. So they're still in that range of severe thunderstorm warnings, as well as the rotation that we have. And of course we have the very heavy rain with it. I'll go ahead and put the lightning tracker back on here so you can see we have a lot of lightning with these storms as well. And again, we have that new severe thunderstorm warning out across portions of Union and Wayne counties, and those are also until 5 o'clock tonight, but we're watching for this tornado warning. We'll go ahead and put the tracker back on this again. I know this area is pretty rural, but nonetheless, there is, obviously there's people that live in this area, so we want you to be aware. And I'm going a little bit outside the polygon because these storms are moving quickly, about 50 miles per hour. Again, Rushville should be there to Rushville in about 15 minutes. So Rushville, you have plenty of time, and that's one of the good things about the lead time that we have with some of these warnings, is that we do know that we can look at the radar and possibly look at the fact that there is some rotation within these storms. So this is radar indicated, and again, this is until 4:30, so the next 9 minutes for this tornado warning for Rush and Shelby counties. And we do have hail, a lot of heavy rain, and some gusty winds. The good news is it does look like it's dying down a little bit as far as the wind impact goes, but I'll go ahead and put the storm relative velocity back on this storm system. We still have some very weak rotation. This is a lot farther from the radar, so it's tough to determine if it's all holding together, but right now it certainly looks like it. So we're going to stay here with you until 4:30, as we want you to stay weather aware throughout the afternoon and evening. We still see some rotation within these storms, and again, we have some very strong winds within these storms as well. So looking at, again, some of the storm potential, 60-mile-per-hour winds within the storm, some of them dying down to 39 miles per hour. Outside of that polygon, 22 miles per hour. We'll go ahead and put reflectivity back on here again. We'll go ahead and put this in motion for you over the past 30 minutes. These storms are moving very quickly. I'll go ahead and clear this out. And you can see where those warnings have been issued with these storms as they continue to push off to the northeast, moving about 50 miles per hour. So we do know that there's also been some large hail with some of these storms, and we do know the wind has had some major impacts. So regardless if there is a tornado on the ground, we ask you to get to your safe spot, because we have this tornado warning as well as severe thunderstorm warnings, all associated with this very strong cell. And I'll go ahead and pause this again so you can see where it lands here for the latest update here at 4:24. So zooming in here, it stretches from Greenfield to south of Greensburg. Very big storm system here, severe, because it does have those winds over 58 miles per hour, especially along the leading edge of these storms, where you will notice before this storm makes it into your backyard that your wind is increasing, the temperature is falling, and we have the lightning that you can see and those rumbles of thunder that you can hear. So this is going to continue to push in, and it's going to have some big impacts as it moves into the rest of Rush County here very shortly with this very strong storm system. Okay, the tornado warning continues. The National Weather Service has said they're continuing to keep this one going at least for the next few minutes here, so stay with me. A lot of lightning, and again, we do know that this likely has some hail associated with it. I'm looking at the base velocity here. We'll take a look at, again, some of the winds here. 74-mile-per-hour winds, that's within that tornado polygon. 55-mile-per-hour winds, so it still has some good intensity with it. Even if it's higher up in the storm cell, we know that this could mix down to the surface. And we've had some reports of some severe winds and large hail out of the storm system. I'll go ahead and clear out some of these, but again, we still have these reports of winds over 70 miles per hour, 65 miles per hour, 71 miles per hour, 81 miles per hour. This is how we look at those, the little pixels within radar. So it's taking what it's looking at in the upper levels with the radar beams into the lower levels, all the tilts of the atmosphere, and really scanning what's going on within this storm. So there is very strong winds, and we do know there's some of that rotation. I'll go ahead and put the storm relative velocity within this storm system. We still have a little bit of rotation within this storm. We are approaching the next 4 minutes where we are still in this tornado warning for Rush County at this point, and looks like it should be moving out of Shelby County here very shortly. But Rushville, you're going to see this storm very shortly, regardless if there is still a tornado attached to it or not. And I'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit more here so we can put this back in motion. Over the past 30 minutes, we've been really watching these storms taking off. And again, they're moving very quickly. Lots of lightning associated with it and some very strong winds as it runs into incredible ingredients for these strong to severe thunderstorms to take off. A lot of rising air that is leading the way to some of those strong updrafts that we have to allow for some of that hail to be developed, as well as those gusty winds to make its way out down to the surface. So again, we still have this tornado warning in effect for Shelby, Rush counties. And I'll go ahead and put the reflectivity back on here so we can continue to monitor this. We've had several storm reports coming out of these storms that have been pushing all across really south of I-70 today. So I'll zoom out here a little bit farther here. We also have some strong storms in southern Indiana, Ohio, really starting to see a lot of that peak heating, allowing for these storms to develop. Despite the fact that we had a lot of cloud coverage today, we still had a lot of instability in the atmosphere and the potential for some rotation, which is what we've been seeing here on radar. And there still is the potential of some rotation within these storms, according to radar. So we're watching for this rotation, and it is to, looks like it's going to head a little closer to Milroy with some of the stronger portion of this storm. And again, a lot of hail associated with this as well. And this storm is pushing off to the northeast, 50 miles per hour, heading towards Richland and Rushville. A lot of lightning, heavy downpours, and again, we still have a couple more minutes for this tornado warning that is in effect for Shelby and Rush County. I appreciate you guys taking time to spend with me here as we walk you through this severe and possibly tornadic storm here. And I'll take this back out and walk this all the way out about 50 miles to where this is going to be heading next. So Richland, it will be in your area right now. Rushville right now. Orange, 8 minutes, and Columbia. You're going to see this storm system, this strong cell, in about 13 minutes. Again, this tornado warning in effect for the next few minutes here. We'll see if it gets extended, which is very possible. But Milroy, Manila, also looking like you could be part of this storm as it moves in a little closer. We also know that there has been some hail associated with some of the storm system over an inch in size. It's being depicted. This one that is within the tornado warning, possibly 1.5 inch size hail. This area through here where you see the hot pinks, that's what we're looking for, the possibility of some hail growth within these storms. So this hail swath is very possible. They could be over an inch in size. Anything 1 inch or larger is damaging. That's why we consider that severe. It will cause damage to your cars. It will cause damage to the roof of your home. But we are mostly concerned about you. We want you to take your shelter at this point because we have this tornado warning still in effect. Rush, Shelby counties for the next minute or so here. We'll see if the National Weather Service allows it to expire, but taking another look here at the storm relative velocity and looking at that storm where we have the potential of some rotation within that storm. So we're looking, and they did allow it to expire. And we still have some very strong winds. Before I let you go, again, just want to touch base on the fact that this severe thunderstorm warning that is in Rush County and Decatur County, 57 mile per hour winds, that's just under severe status, but 60 mile per hour winds are part of it. Oh, and we have another tornado warning that just popped up as well. So I'll take you over there. Let me clear this off. All right, that storm that we were watching there, severe thunder, that is a tornado warning now in effect, and that is for east central Indiana. And we'll go ahead and let me zoom in here a little closer. So that polygon you can see goes into Ohio, but it does have, it does impact portions of Wayne County, Liberty area, Brownsville, Abington, all part of this warned storm cell. This is a new tornado warning. It is in effect until 5 p.m. for east central Indiana. There has been severe thunderstorm warnings associated with it, but it is also very strong storm with very strong winds associated with. Let's go ahead and analyze this one as well, taking a look at some of the winds within it. 50 mile per hour winds, 40 mile per hour winds. We are a little bit farther away from the radar within the storm system, and this was issued from another office, not the Indianapolis office. This is from our Wilmington office. So let's see here if I can. Take a look here what we have. Okay, so this one is not moving quite as fast. It's moving northeast at about 25 miles per hour. And this is also capable of producing a tornado. Again, it is near Liberty. So we'll zoom in here a little bit closer and watching out for this rotation. Again, this is our storm relative velocity. So this is how we can really dive into the storm and look a little closer at what's happening within the storm system. Is there rotation? Can it make its way to the surface? If it does, it could cause some severe damage within it, but we also know there is some very strong winds within the storm system. I'll go ahead and put reflectivity back onto the storm system, and I'll put it in motion over the past 30 minutes. A lot of lightning, heavy rain, and of course now we have the very strong winds with it and possible tornado rotation. That new tornado warning is in effect until 5 p.m. And it does include Abington and Liberty, and that is in portions of Union and Wayne counties, Fayette County east, and that's also into Ohio as well. So we're not worried about Ohio right now, but if you do have friends and family that live there, please let them know. I'll go ahead and zoom back out here again. Now I back this up so that old tornado warning is still showing up there. But friends, we need you to get to your safe spot with this storm. They have been pretty significant all day long. I'm going to go ahead and take us all the way out here, and I'll back this up earlier for the past couple of hours where we've really had these storms sparking up on radar. So they started as, you know, a very small isolated shower even, and then it blew up into more of a thunderstorm. Then we started to see the leading edge of some of these storms really pushing off along the leading edge of these storms, allowing for these very strong winds to develop right along the front edge. And that's why we had these tornado warnings that were issued as they were radar indicated. So I'm looking to see here on the chat room if we've had any reports of actual tornado reports just yet from storm spotters. They've been out there today. Do have a report of Large trees down, winds estimate of 45 miles per hour. That was in Decatur County, and that's with that storm that was moving through that had the potential of rotation. We also have, let me go back here to IND and take a look here if we have anything else. In Shelby County, also 65 mile per hour wind that caused some wind damage there. So, and that's what we were looking at. Friends, we were looking at that on radar, that we saw those strong winds within that storm. So now we're seeing that come to fruition. And when we see that happening, we know that the storm has a history of producing very strong winds. We know that we need you to get to your safe spot. Bartholomew County, another report that just came in from another storm spotter wind damage. This is large tree limbs that are down, wind estimation near 80 miles per hour. So this is definitely a day to stay weather aware, because we've had these strong storms moving through. Now, it does look like things are becoming just more residual rain here on the backside of these systems. So Bloomington, Greenwood, Franklin, Columbus, you're now just going to be dealing with some stratiform rain out of these storms, possibly some isolated lightning strikes within them, but they're not nearly as strong. But what we're watching out for is these storms that stretch from Greenfield all the way down into southern Indiana at this point. Our viewing area does include east central Indiana, so we still have this tornado warning that is in effect here. And this is, again, for Wayne County, Union County, Liberty. You're under this warning right now. Large hail possible within these storms. So, heavy rain, a lot of lightning, but let's go back to the storm relative velocity. And we're watching out for that potential of rotation, guys. This is what we're watching out for. We really, we know that even any kind of any wind over 58 miles per hour or higher is going to be significant. It can cause damage. Rotation within the storm is also a huge concern. So we could see some rotation here. Doesn't look super strong. Thankfully, it looks like it's weakening, but do want to advise the fact that we are farther from this radar at this point. So what that means is it's looking up higher into the atmosphere. It's looking at different scans higher up within the storm. So even if the storm is rotating higher up, it may not necessarily be rotating down below, but nonetheless, we know that this storm has had the history of very strong winds, 58 plus mile per hour winds. We've had reports of trees down as well as some roof damage, and now we have this tornado warning that continues. I'll go ahead and put on reflectivity again. This tornado warning in effect for Union, Fayette counties until 5 p.m. and it is going into Ohio as well. Looks like they peeled that off a little bit here with the severe thunderstorm warning that goes into Ohio. So I'll zoom back out here again. We have still several severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. We have the one that's still in effect for Rush County. So Rush, you're still not out of the woods yet of this. Decatur County under this severe thunderstorm warning, and it'll eventually be pushing east, northeast, and they are moving pretty fast. Connorsville, you're basically in the clear of some of the stronger storms. It's moving to your northeast, but we still have a severe thunderstorm warning outlined for portions of Richmond, and all of this moving off east into Ohio. And we saw the tornado warning in effect. A lot of hail likely with this one as well. Very strong updrafts. We have prime ingredients for these storms that continue to bring us the very strong winds. Looking at our debris ball here to see if we can see anything, any kind of possible debris that has occurred within this storm. Back this up a little bit to see if we can see anything out of this. And it's possible near Liberty there could have been some rotation there as well and possibly make its way, but we haven't seen. Let me check our chat room again to see if we've had any more reports of possible rotation within these storms. We do know that there's a possibility because of the radar, and thankfully we have this dual pole radar that can give us such a great insight into what's happening in the atmosphere. Our technology gets better and better all the time, but we still have questions where we need people on the ground, really need people looking into the skies, looking for any kind of funnel clouds that could make its way to the surface. So we still have the severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect until 7 p.m. So want you to stay weather aware for all of central Indiana with that. I'll go ahead and zoom back out here and put this back onto reflectivity, and we're still watching for that tornado warning, and it's not moving as quickly as the last one. It's moving about 25 miles per hour. And I'm going to put the hail swath on just so I can see, so you can see this polygon a little bit better. So it technically doesn't include Richmond with this tornado warning for Wayne and Union counties. And the severe thunderstorm warning is extended into Ohio, but the tornado warning is just for Wayne and Union counties. I'll go ahead and put our storm relative velocity back on here. And we'll dive in here a little bit. I'm going to take the lightning off for you just for a moment, and we'll see what kind of winds we might have in here. Again, it's tough to see any rotation within this storm right now, but the Wilmington office of the National Weather Service has a little bit better eyes on it, so they are able to, they're keeping this tornado warning intact. So just because I'm not seeing it here does not mean it's not happening. So we know that this is a very strong, severe thunderstorm. I'll go ahead and put the lightning back on here. Very gusty winds, heavy rain, and hail associated with this storm. Especially, I'll zoom in here a little closer where we are likely seeing some hail just south of 5 Points and near Kitchell. And all of this is pushing off to the northeast, heading towards North State Road 227. And I'll put the storm relative velocity back on here again. Liberty, the main part of that storm has moved to your northeast. You still are likely going to have a lot of lightning and hail with this storm system. Watching out for any rotation within this storm. It's still pretty tough to see. It looks like it's weakening quite a bit. We'll take another pixel here again. Thankfully, the winds are not as significant within this storm right now. Let's go a little farther outside of it. A little bit higher winds and that are ahead of this storm as well, which is not surprising. We do have that, looks like possibly some rotation out to the east of this storm. Go ahead and put reflectivity back on here. In fact, I'll go ahead and give you a wider look at the national view here of our mosaic, and we'll take a time lapse here of the past 4 hours. I'll clear this off and put this in motion for you as the strongest storms moved across St. Louis, and there was some severe weather associated with it. And we just saw the line of thunderstorms really developing throughout about early afternoon in Illinois, and then continuing to run into just great atmospheric thermodynamics to allow these storms to really take off, unfortunately. We had a number 2 level risk of severe weather, and it's all coming to fruition with the really good dynamics that we have in the atmosphere. A lot of instability that causes that rising air, and then we can have some strong downdrafts on the leading edge of these storms. And we also can see some velocity and vortices associated with this, causing some of the wind shear that we have associated with this. Low-level wind shear, upper-level wind shear. It wasn't super strong today, but we knew we had it. So we were just here to keep you severe weather aware, and now we're still dealing with these storms on radar. All right, let's take you back to this tornado warning that's still in effect until 5 p.m. Let's see if they've kept it going here. I'm going to check one more thing. And the tornado warning has been canceled for Union and Wayne. So that's some good news, friends. It looked like the velocity was really dying down, but we still have some strong storms that are still moving east northeast. So we still have this tornado warning that's in effect for Rush and Decatur counties. And we also have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Fayette counties, and then this newer one for Franklin County. All of these pushing off to the east, northeast, and they're only moving about 50 miles per hour. So I'll take this out again. That's the main strong storms that we have. And the severe thunderstorm watch goes until 7 p.m., but I believe that we'll likely see a lot of this system dying down quite a bit. Doesn't mean we won't still see some thunderstorm activity out of these storms throughout the evening hours into early tomorrow morning. The front will pass through, and then we will see much better conditions as we go into tomorrow. So just keep that in mind if you are staying with us throughout the evening. We will definitely keep you updated, but the severe thunderstorms are continuing to push off to the east. The tornado warnings have been allowed to expire, and we have still some severe thunderstorm warnings to east central Indiana. So I will go ahead and take this back to Facebook. I'll let you get back to your programming. Again, I'm meteorologist Kelly Green. It is 4:46. Have a safe night and stay weather aware. Hello, Facebook friends. I guess we're back here. I'm not sure if I've been popped up on screen at all, so that's okay. I'm going to try to pull up our Facebook page here, so give me a minute, and I can look to see if you have any comments here. Hopefully I can get on Facebook. I might have to grab my phone. Yeah, I'm going to have to grab my phone, but we do have these storms pushing off to the east northeast. I'll go ahead and zoom in here a little bit closer, and I'll put them in motion over the past 15 minutes. These have slowed down quite a bit. They were moving at a pretty good clip earlier, so I'll just let this run, and I'm going to grab my phone so that I can help you track if you have any questions for me. Maybe I left them up there. Oh, I did. I brought them up here with me. Hey Kyle, would you mind letting Jennifer know that I'm going to continue with Facebook? She was calling me. All right, we have a lot of comments here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down so I don't have to hear myself. Let's see, Teresa Knight Jackson said thanks for the coverage. Thank you very much. Yeah, somebody's mad that I was talking the horse race. I know. I'm so sorry. We have to cover. When we have tornado warnings, we have to keep our viewers safe. So I apologize. I know it's a pain, but we have to allow our people to stay safe. It is what we do. We are in the public domain, and it is expected. If you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to let me know about, I'd appreciate it. Alan said traffic has stopped around I-65 south for half an hour both ways in Edinburgh. So let me go ahead and zoom in here in Bartholomew County. Here, let me go ahead and pause this for a moment. And Kyle, you're welcome to put me in double boxes if you'd like. I know I'm looking down a lot, so keep that in mind, friends. Yeah, it may not be a great wish. I don't know how good my hair is today. That doesn't matter. I don't care, to be honest with you. So if you make fun of me on Facebook about my hair, I'm going to skip it. It doesn't matter. What's more important is you guys know what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to our friend Alan, who said that there is stopped traffic on 65. And Kyle, one more thing. Jennifer's calling me back again. I'm not sure if you want to let Megan know, please. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and back this up to see what Alan was talking about with that strong storm that moved across Bartholomew County and 65. Yep, I'm going to go a little bit farther north though because I'm in the wrong spot. So I'll back this up a little bit more. It looks like the storm moved through that area really, really quickly. There we go. All right, Alan, so I've got this backed up. You can see this is the storm that pushed through. There could have been some hail as well, but definitely heavy rain and lightning could have some major impacts along I-65, so hopefully you'll get going here pretty quickly. I appreciate you letting us know that, though. So if you're heading south towards Columbus, that area, there is, I've been told that it's stopped about a half an hour ago in both ways, actually. So it's I-65 north and southbound near Edinburgh exits, large trees down and construction equipment. There's a lot of construction in that area too, so that does not do us any favors. All right, I'm going to back out again, and keep in mind I backed this up an hour, so don't look at those severe thunderstorm warnings that are up there. And again, we have these warnings that are off to the east over Connorsville and Brookville, and they are still packing a punch. And let me see here. If you guys have any more comments of storms that have moved through your area, shout them out, let me know. Shelley wants to know, is Anderson going to get any severe weather or any storms? So really, honestly, most of the stronger storms have been along and south of I-70 today. We have had some rain and some lightning, but Anderson, you're going to be in good shape. So Shelley, thanks for the question. Let's see. What else? Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate you being positive. And safety first. Agreed. Daniel says, are there any more lines of strong to severe thunderstorms behind this line? Right now, I don't think so. There might be some showers back to our west, and I'll go ahead and put on our radar, our larger radar here, so you can see what is off to our west. I just don't think they're going to be as strong. Thankfully, this storm likely really took the umph out of it, but we're not completely out of the woods, and the severe thunderstorm watch continues until 7 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and back this up here. And again, this is pushing, you can see through Louisville, another round of rain. So we still have some residual rain that will move on the back side of that, and that's going to have not as major impacts, thankfully. So great question. I appreciate that. We had some tornado warnings. If you've been on with us from the start, you know that, but we did have tornado warning for Shelby and Rush County, and then we had another one for Union and Fayette counties, and that one was allowed to expire earlier as the rotation really was starting to fall apart. That was supposed to go until 5 p.m., but thankfully it was allowed to expire. Let me see if we have any more reports of severe weather on our chat room. So our friends at the National Weather Service, they're awesome. We have a great partnership with them, as well as the emergency managers for all the counties in the state of Indiana. Actually had a meeting this past week for 3 days about basically looking at storm coverage after a storm moves through. Really interesting stuff to see how we can improve things, how we can look at the storm systems and after the fact, and how to clean it up, and what is determining what type of damage it was. If it was a straight line wind, or if it was potentially tornadic, or maybe it was a downburst, which we could have had a downburst with some of these storms today, where we have basically a wind that just comes down really fast and splatters down, and it can kind of push everything out to the sides. But with tornado damage, normally that rotation causes things to fall, crisscross, and then with straight line wind damage, everything falls forward. I know that's a very basic layman's terms way. I hope that makes sense. But that's kind of how we look at storm damage. And I'll double check to see here on Facebook Live your questions. Is Richmond, I'm in Richmond driving south towards Louisville. Should I wait? That is from Blanche. Hey, Blanche. So let's go ahead and put back our own radar on here and look at the reflectivity here, and I'll go ahead and stop this. This is the past hour time lapse. We still have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. So Blanche, I would wait maybe a half an hour to an hour before these storms can move out. These storms here in Connorsville and Brookville, they've slowed down. Let me see if I can look to see how slow they have gotten at this point, because they were down to about 25 miles per hour. And let's see. Yeah, they have sped up, so that's good. They're going about 45 miles per hour. So let me go ahead and put the tracker. Oh, that's not a very good one. Let me clear that. Stay with me, friends. I'm going to do a time of arrival, and this is going to take us into Ohio. And I'll go 45 miles per hour with this. So here's a look at some of those times of arrival. Brownsville, right now. Milton, I mentioned on air 1 minute. Earlier, looked like the rotation could be getting closer to Milton. Thankfully, that crisis has been averted, but we still have some very strong winds within these storms. Cambridge City, 2 minutes, Liberty, 2 minutes. So we're seeing more stormy activity in Liberty, which was the area where we thought maybe some rotation. So this storm cell is still not done, and it's still packing a punch. Centerville, 12 minutes, Oxford, 11 minutes. Get to your safe spots with these storms, despite the fact there may not be rotation. We do know that they have some very strong winds. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the storm relative velocity again, and just kind of digging into this storm. Now, I will say that this is looking higher up into the storm, so it's likely not depicting what's closer to the surface. The tilt of the beam is a little higher up with this angle, but that doesn't mean that it can't mix down towards the surface. So we still have a 48-mile-per-hour wind here near Oldenburg, Blooming Grove, 30-mile-per-hour wind, Brookville. Yeah, let me do that one again. 29-mile-per-hour wind, Columbia, 25-mile-per-hour winds, Connorsville, 26-mile-per-hour winds. So they're a little bit below the status for severe threat. That doesn't mean that it's not getting to the surface, if that makes sense. We still could see some very strong winds at the surface, especially on the leading edge of this storm. So I'll go ahead and put the reflectivity back on here. And let me clear this out so it's not so gucky here. But even here through just to the north of Waterloo, that storm is still pretty strong. We still have likely some hail with this storm. And it's moving again, as we mentioned. Milton starting to see the leading edge. Abington seeing the leading edge of this storm again. So we've had a couple rounds already worked over this area. So hopefully it's really kind of stolen a lot of the energy out of the atmosphere. Because if I back this up for you, you can see that we've had, over the past hour, East Central Indiana really getting worked over. And this is just the last hour. So these storms started to push through, moving over to Connorsville, and then we had the tornado warning associated with that one as well as the one in Rush and Shelby counties. So the one that's here that was here at 4:30, where they allowed this tornado warning to go away and be canceled because the rotation wasn't as significant. It still had a lot of bang to it with the very strong winds. So this one now working its way into East Central Indiana again. So you guys have been hit quite a bit from Richmond to Connorsville into Brookville. Let me clear this off again for you. We'll zoom out a little bit wider here, and I'll put this back in motion. This is the past 1 hour time lapse. We still have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for East Central Indiana. See if there's any other reports coming in here. Looks like there's a report from Ripley County, which is a little bit out of our viewing area. This one just happened in Decatur County, St. Paul, and this says widespread tree damage. Roof peeled off of Old State Route. Sorry, just moved on me. 421. Large trees blocking numerous areas. So that was St. Paul in Decatur County. So unfortunately, regardless if we had a tornado on the ground, it has caused a lot of damage. Now, depending on what damage we continue to hear, the National Weather Service may go out and evaluate the area, and then they'll determine if, number one, if there was a tornado that hit the ground, or number two, or I should say if indeed it was, then they'll decide what the rating was. How strong of winds did it have? Perhaps it wasn't a strong tornado, but it still caused rotation to cause damage, even if it's an EF0, could still have 80-mile-per-hour winds, which we saw that these storms were capable of producing winds over 80 miles per hour. Okay, let me go ahead and pause this again for you. If you're staying on with us, especially if you live in East Central Indiana, that Wilmington office has allowed the severe thunderstorm warning for Connersville to expire. The one in Franklin for Brookville, you are still under this warning until 5:30, so the next half hour. That one may be allowed to expire a little sooner because these are moving about 40 to 45 miles per hour at this point. So hopefully it'll be making its way out of Indiana here shortly. And taking a little wider look here, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings in southern Indiana, as well as a lot of activity now in Ohio, which was expected. I was out at the track today, and we had a little shower that popped up on radar. It popped up very quickly. They saw sprinkles before we actually saw it on radar. And then it just exploded. And that's the kind of environment that we had today with all of this rising air, a lot of instability in the atmosphere. So it allowed those clouds to really launch in the atmosphere. We had high cloud tops, very cold cloud tops, and allowed for some hail to develop because of those strong updrafts within the storm. And then we had some strong downdrafts on that storm as well, the leading edge especially. And that's what we're watching out for with this storm too. That's really making its way towards Richmond again, even though it's not under a severe thunderstorm warning for Richmond area or Cambridge City. It's still a strong storm, so keep that in mind. But Brookville, you're starting to see the back edge of the strongest part of that storm moving out. So that's some good news. West College, you're still in the thick of it right now. So that's that strong storm likely bringing some hail. West College Corner, seeing some hail with that. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at our hail swath. And I'll zoom out here so you can see the hail swath, how incredible the past hour. I'll put the time lapse on here so you can take a look. I'll zoom in here a little closer. Let me take off the warning. Whoa. It doesn't like the counties evidently on here. I'm going to turn off the warnings just for the moment so you can see the hail swath. And I'll put this in motion for you. And this is the past 1 hour. And we really had some large hail that was probable in Martinsville. And I'm not sure if we did indeed have reports of that there. But if you are watching and on Facebook Live and you live in Martinsville or the area, James has no power in Martinsville. Duke is saying about 9:30 tonight. Thank you, James, for the update. And James, if you did see some hail, please let me know. Let's see. All right, so just to be clear, we did not have necessarily a tornado touchdown that I understand. All right, possible funnel cloud that was reported in Fayette County. Very, very possible that could have been a situation. Also, no power in Spencer, Indiana. Thank you for the update on that, Barbara. We had rain at the Mecum auto auction. Yep, the rain was very heavy. Thankfully, it was not severe. Thank you for the updates, friends. All right, let me go ahead and put on our warnings. I must have accidentally turned off something else in here. So I lost our counties. Stand by, please. All right, going to put this on here, the tornado strikes that we've had. A lot of tornadoes. Excuse me, did I say tornado strikes? I'm so sorry. Total strikes of lightning. My apologies. Let's see here. So I just put on some of the storm reports that we've had. So a lot of storm reports here.
All right, got the counties back on here. So let's take a look here, and we'll take a look here at Columbus because we had that report of I-65 north and southbound travel lanes near Edinburgh having some trees that were down actually on the highway, according to a Facebook friend here on WTHR's Facebook Live. Received multiple pictures via social media of large tree limbs down on northeast side of Columbus. And that was earlier today at 3:56. Also in Johnson County, this is 65-mile-per-hour winds. That's an estimate. And again, as I mentioned, anything over 58 miles per hour or higher is considered severe. Multiple trees down in Shelby County. And this one is the St. Paul one that I mentioned about widespread tree damage reported. Front of a roof peeled off of State Route 421. Large trees blocking roads in numerous areas, and the time estimate is from the radar, which was at 4:10 earlier, where we had the tornado warning that either was issued at that point or was close to being issued at that point. Let me clear that here. Let's see, I'll zoom out a little farther. This one is in Randolph County, report of dime-size hail. So not necessarily severe hail, but we did have dime-size hail associated with a lot of these storms. Let's go down to the Martinsville area. We have some wind reports, but not hail reports. That's interesting. Large tree branches down. Tree reports high wind. With that, causing the tree branches down. That was at 3:30 today. Also in Morgan County at 3:30, a tree fell on the house that was estimated from radar. And also this is in Owen County where we had a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Large trees down, and that was causing power lines to be downed, unfortunately, which we've already heard some of that reports. Another Owen County report, McCormick's Creek State Park. That one also hail, and that was below hail's severe hail, but nonetheless 0.7 inch, 700ths of an inch of hail, so that's still a decent size, but thankfully not severe. Let's go ahead and take a look again at these storms that are continuing to push off to the east. We have that severe thunderstorm warning that continues for now Union and Franklin County. So let's double check here on our chat room. Still have the strong winds indicating the severe thunderstorm warning. So let's go ahead and just take a little look into that storm system. I'll go ahead and clear this off. If you're in that area, and I'm going to check that chat room here in a moment. If you're in that area, let me know what's going on there. Get rid of this stuff here, and I will put on our query here so we can look to see. All right, 44-mile-per-hour winds. I'm trying to find the highest winds here, maybe West College Corner. Yeah, that area with the looks to be a little bit more intense near West College Corner. So if you're in that area, far eastern Indiana, the brunt of the storm is starting to move out. We still have one that's to the southeast, and this is not in our viewing area, but just so you know, that's Ohio County and Ripley County in Indiana. Oops, I didn't see what the time was on that. Those are until 5:45. So if you have plans on driving, I would wait an hour or two, let these storms clear, then you might be just dealing with some rain. I'll go ahead and zoom out a little farther here. We had some reports actually earlier today in Miami County from the first round of storms. This was earlier this morning. So look here in Miami County, this was 3 semi-trucks blown over on US 31. We had very strong winds with those storms that pushed through earlier today. And also in Galveston, Cass County, multiple trees down and a semi blown over. Wow, incredible. That's incredible wind, guys. You just never know what Mother Nature is going to throw at us. And it's very possible that semi was empty and the trailer was empty, which makes it a little easier to blow over, but nonetheless, it was still very strong wind to cause that. Pretty scary stuff if you're a truck driver. God bless them all. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn off these storm reports here. And we still have this warning for east central Indiana. Looks like the strongest part is pushing into Ohio, working its way towards Riley, Ohio, and Oxford. So Brookville, you're in much better shape at this hour. Still a pretty decent storm heading towards Richmond. So if you're in the Richmond area, Abington, you are seeing some strong storms right now. Thankfully, it's no longer was rotating. But still some gusty winds for Richmond. Likely you're probably seeing the dark clouds pushing in and the strong winds ahead of that storm as the leading edge moves into Richmond. Okay, so Dakota, thank you for your comment. I will check on that. And okay, so Carlotta says that she is in West Bartholomew. It hit leaves flying like they were being stripped. Wow, it's pretty incredible. Winds were rough, took down huge trees and a trampoline. It was tough for a few. I believe it. That's incredible. Unfortunately, those trampolines seem to take off pretty easily. They can just get underneath it, that strong wind, and just lift it up. So if you do have a trampoline, if you are able to stake those down, that's a good idea in the future so it doesn't become a really big hazard for your house or somebody else's house, right? Let's see here. This is from Katie. She lives in Williamsburg, Lake Estates, that's Nineveh area, Brown County. There are 5 or 6 trees in their neighborhood completely snapped or large branches broken off. I'm sorry to hear that, Katie. Thanks for the update. I-65 was a violent mess around Edinburgh, Taylorsville. Dakota also let me know about that. Not sure if that's where some of the video she's going to be sending me on that is about that, but we had a report that both I-65 northbound and southbound were blocked because of all of the trees that were down across the highway. Just incredible stuff here, guys. One of my managers sent me a text saying Duke Energy has about 31,000 customers without power in the southern part of the viewing area, about 19,000 towards Edinburgh area, another 10,000 or so west of there, more towards Monroe County. Okay, not surprising. Again, she's mentioning the Edinburgh area. So let's go ahead and take a little look-see. Again, we did kind of look at that area. Zoom all the way in here and we'll back up the radar. So we have the Edinburgh outlets, you know, obviously along that area in Bartholomew County. I'm trying to let this sit there for a second. Edinburgh is showing up right there. That area with US 31 and I-65. So let me go ahead and back this up for you. I'll take it back a couple hours so we can see what moves through here. Okay, bunch of ugliness, yes? Bunch of ugliness. So this was at 3:54. Let me see if I can back this up just a tiny bit. So this is 3:53. I backed it up 1 minute before it made its way into Edinburgh. And I'm going to go ahead and put the storm velocity on here again. And let's go ahead and query this area and see if we can see what the winds were prior to it moving over Edinburgh. Okay. Now, not incredible, but let's take it another minute over Edinburgh and see what we've got here. 35 mile per hour winds along 31. about 65, 39 mile per hour winds. Now that's just the leading edge, but we can go a little bit farther out into the storm. And I'll take off the lightning and clear what we have on there. 60 mile per hour winds, friends. You see that? Right over 65. So that's some intense wind. Also have another update from Susan, my manager. She was the one who mentioned about Edinburgh area having power down. So obviously 60 mile per hour winds is going to do some damage. Duke Energy, again, she mentioned 31,000 customers without power. Total Duke customers without power across the state, 47,000. And that was as of 5 p.m. She said no noteworthy outages reported by AES. So there possibly are some, but nothing substantial like Duke Energy with over 47,000 customers without power. So if you are watching us via Facebook and you don't have power, the good news is the brunt of the storm is moving out. We are going to see some cooler air, so hopefully you'll be able to open up the windows if you don't have power the rest of the night. It's a Saturday night. Well, hopefully, you know, the crews are back out there working, but you know it can take time. We still have plenty of daylight for the next 3 hours. However, we're still running out of time. So hopefully if you're out of power, you're able to open up the windows to keep your house a little cooler, and it's going to be much cooler tomorrow. Go ahead and zoom back out here. And again, this is showing the old severe thunderstorm warning, so keep that in mind because I backed it up 2 hours so we could take a look at what moves through Edinburgh along I-65. All right, so the tornado, excuse me, I didn't mean to say tornado, the severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for East Central Indiana has been allowed to expire, which I assumed it would happen because now it's moved into Ohio. We still have a strong storm over Richmond. I took off the lightning, so I'll go ahead and put it back on. That just really kind of shows you a little bit more of the intensity. But we also have some hail likely with this guy. Very strong storm moving over Richmond, Spring Grove. It just moved through Centerville and Abington. See if there is any more reports out of the storms that we've had. Now that it's moving into Ohio, it's not as significant for us here. But I'm sure we'll still have reports coming in from viewers like you letting us know that we have had some damage and power outages, obviously, a lot of lightning. This is another report that came in from Edinburgh, Bartholomew County. This is numerous trees down in the area, highway sign folded over. That's significant. And that was at 3:56, which you know I backed that up about that time where we had that 60 mile per hour wind. And that's why we love using radar, because it is so good about indicating the strong winds that we could have actually happening within that storm. Okay, let me take a look at your comments if you guys have anything. Whoops. Okay, so Faye was asking about Shelbyville. So we did have some stronger storms that moved through Shelbyville. We actually had a tornado warning that was in effect for Shelby County. It was actually just south of Shelbyville. So there was likely some strong winds, though. That was a very strong severe thunderstorm warning associated for Shelby County, as well as the embedded rotation within that, and it was just south of Shelbyville. And Dakota just confirmed, yes, pretty severe in and around Shelby County. Thanks, Dakota. Really coming down in Richmond right now. Thanks, Dodge, for the update, I bet. So thankfully, it's moving pretty quickly. It's moving about 40 to 45 miles per hour, so we'll be out of there very shortly. So hang in there and stay indoors. Let's see. Huge lightning strike in Richmond, according to Blanche. Yep, we still have a lot of lightning within that storm.
and raining really hard. Daniel says trampolines are like frisbees. The only difference is Mother Nature likes to toss trampolines and people like to toss frisbees. Thanks, Daniel. It's a good point. Mother Nature is hard to predict, and she's going to do what she wants. Okay. Any more comments, friends? Bunch of rain in Richmond, according to Jacob. And if you guys have any hail there, let me know. But it's now, the latest scan has pushed it now off east. And we are out of severe thunderstorm warnings at this hour. So I'll just go ahead and do a little recap here, guys. And we'll finish up so I can let you go on about your Saturday night. And I thank you for tuning in with us and staying weather aware. This is the season when we watch out for these really strong storms to take place. My husband's trying to call me. So we have had a lot of instability in the atmosphere. We had that first round that moved through earlier today, but it really had the main impacts in west central Indiana and north central Indiana. So the rest of south central Indiana areas along and south of I-70 really hadn't been worked over yet. So that was allowing that really strong ingredients that we look for when these storms start to push in. They just continue to suck in all of that energy, and then they keep moving off to the east or northeast or sometimes southeast, depending on the pattern. But typically they have an easterly flow. Sometimes they're slow movers. Last Saturday, super slow movers. We didn't have a lot of upper level movement in the atmosphere, not a lot of push. This time today, we've had some fast movers. We've had 50-mile-per-hour speeds with some of these storms. At times, they've slowed down to 25 miles per hour. And when they slow down, we know that they're going to bring some heavy rain. And in south central Indiana, you had some heavy rain over the past couple of days, yesterday morning. So that's a concern as well. So we watch out for flash flooding to be an issue with some of these storms, even if they don't produce some very strong winds or even tornado winds. So nonetheless, things are improving here. I'll go ahead and put this back into where we are with no lapse. But we also have some storms off to our west. So we'll likely see another round of some storms. In fact, let me come in here, and you have this severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect. Now they've peeled it down till 7 p.m. and it still includes east central Indiana, but nonetheless, this is going to continue to likely peel off from west to east because of the stronger storms moving on out. So one more time with our analysis, and I'll take a little wider view here, looking at our regional mosaic here. And I'll go ahead and put it in motion for the past 1 hour, and I'm going to take the severe alerts off so you don't get startled by that. But just so you know, we do have this area off to our west. Not the prettiest circle, but that's moving east. So we will still see some more downpours, lightning, maybe some gusty winds out of that. I'll have to dig into that analysis when it comes, and if they do get strong, we're going to be here with you. So I'll just take a quick look here if there's any more comments. Columbus, and so Dakota says, was in Columbus for the duration of it all, didn't hear any sirens either. So typically each county will do the sirens if there is a tornado warning. And Bartholomew County actually wasn't warned for a tornado. It was Rush, Shelby, and Fayette and Union counties that were under that tornado warning. Nothing in Pendleton, thanks Michelle, appreciate that. Cleared out in Kokomo, and we are in southwest Shelby County, have lots of trees and power down. Oh, Rebecca, I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you for the update though. And again, we know that for Duke Energy customers, over 47,000 customers without power right now. So was going to toss it back and wrap up, but Jenny Runovich is here. Jenny, did you have anything that you were going to bring up?
Actually, just kind of assessing the damage currently.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was going to help you out with some damage reports
Great.
once we learn them. So,
Okay.
yeah, kind of
I'll
gathering
I'll
that here.
give you a couple minutes. Take your time.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and stay on with you, friends, because we can. It's Facebook Live, so we can stay here as long as you guys want to be here with us, and I'll continue to take your comments. But again, we do know that there has been a lot of strong winds associated with these, and I had backed up radar. We looked at Edinburgh. We know there was a 60-mile-per-hour wind, and even during that tornado warning for Shelby and Rush County, there were some wind speeds over 80 miles per hour. So those are no joke winds. We know that anything over 58 miles per hour or higher can cause damage. We also know that hail over 1 inch in size causes damage. But the winds are very much a concern, causing tree limbs to be down. Not sure about the report of I-65 in the Edinburgh area. If you have a report of that, if it's open back up again, be great to know that, because that was closed down for a while, both northbound and southbound, because of the strong winds that moved through that area. So Jill just commented, my parents were traveling south on State Road 9, just south of Shelbyville. There are grain bins blown over, trees across several roads, and on some houses. My mom said she's never seen anything like it. Gosh, I'm so sorry, Jill. That's tough to hear, and I'm sure it was pretty scary for your mom to see that. Monica says power out in Nineveh near Persimmon Ridge Road in Brown County. So thank you so much, Monica, for the update there. And just kind of scanning through here to see if any other updates. Dodge says that, it could be Debbie, I apologize. Roads are flooding in Richmond as well. So we had some heavy downpours within these storms. I'll go ahead and we'll put our reflectivity back on this, and I'll zoom in a little, I'll zoom in a little closer here. And I'll back up radar for the past, we'll go about 15 minutes back or so. That's not even quite 15 minutes, about 10 minutes ago. So Richmond, this was the heavy downpour of storms that you had down National Road. Spring Grove, you likely had some very heavy rain as well. And Locust Grove, also very heavy rain. South 9th Street, right through the heart of Richmond. Could have some flooded roads there as well. There could have been some hail embedded with this storm as well, and obviously a lot of lightning. Let's take a look at the velocity and see about any wind that was there. Thankfully, the wind was below status. This was not a storm that was warned. So the wind wasn't significant enough, but doesn't mean that it couldn't still cause some tree damage. If you have a tree that's dying, those are a lot easier to push over than a very strong live tree. I'm going to go ahead and put the debris tracker on here, our correlation coefficient, which can show us if we had any possible tornado that hit the ground.
Can you kind of run down some of the power outages that we're experiencing, just kind of the latest numbers?
Okay.
Like?
Kyle, can you hear Jenny? Okay, you're up right now. So we're going to let Jenny talk a little bit more about some of the power
why don't you take
outages,
a look?
and I'm going to go ahead and put this back on reflectivity, and she can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, just wanted to give you a little bit of a break while you're doing that. Just talk about the power outages that we're seeing because of this storm. Duke Energy right now reporting about 16,600 customers without power. So obviously that was an area that Kelly mentioned that got hit pretty hard in this storm. Also hit pretty hard Johnson County. It looked like we have in Johnson only about 79 actually customers without power there. But I know Kelly had mentioned the Nineveh area being hit hard, and I actually heard from some of my colleagues who work in public safety, and they said when this hit, Nineveh did get hit pretty hard, in addition to Edinburgh as well. Lots of electrical lines and poles down, lots of trees down as well, a couple of possible collapses as well. So we have our crews kind of fanned out throughout the area right now, headed to those areas where there is some potential storm damage to kind of gather that and show you what happened. And certainly we hope you know, if your home was affected, if your neighborhood was affected, you're staying safe, and that everyone was certainly okay when all of these blew through.
I'm backing up radar right now, so we're looking at that Nineveh area with the very strong storms that moved through.
Yeah.
Pretty nasty. The leading edge of those storms are likely what caused some of those really strong winds. And then the heavy rain and even some hail in north of Nineveh. So I haven't heard of any hail reports yet, but likely some hail through that area too.
And that's the thing, Kelly, I know about those strong winds. When they go through quickly, you know, a lot of times people may think, oh, if it's not a tornado, you know, it can't cause widespread damage. But these were real strong winds that came through.
Yeah, and I just had another report from Katie. She was in Liberty, Indiana, and saying that trees blown over, very scary. And it can be very scary. When you hear those strong winds, that's why we ask you to stay weather aware. Those winds are no joke. When we get over 58 miles per hour, it can cause damage, and that's what we're seeing right now. So that's why we always give you a heads up, hopefully a couple days before. We have enough notice now that the models have gotten a lot better. They're not perfect. We still have a lot of questions, and things don't always shake out the way we think they are. But in a situation like today, we were in a number 2 level enhanced risk where we had that potential of seeing some of the stronger storms, and unfortunately it came to fruition.
And Kelly, we were talking about the storms in Nineveh. Some of the folks working our phones in the newsroom did talk to some people on South Nineveh Road. They said several trees down there, at least one potentially on a house, at least one on a car. Again, this South Nineveh Road in Nineveh. Possibly the Princess Lakes area or roads leading to there potentially closed because of some storm damage, simply because of the trees on the road. We're also hearing reports from Columbus, lots of trees down there. Some trees, not just down on the road, but also unfortunately on homes in the Columbus area. Some of the areas we're talking about with these trees onto homes also are kind of where those concentrated power outages are. Again, Duke Energy reporting a lot of power outages concentrated in Bartholomew County. In Brown County, about 3,000 right now. And in Bartholomew County, again, we're talking about more than 16,000 customers in the dark right now, or at least without power. So I know the crews are out there working hard, trying to restore those customers without power. Statewide, right now, we're at about 48,000 for Duke Energy. And that's, of course, one of the consequences when those strong winds blow through quickly. A lot of people lose their power. I know I was in Johnson County, and we had several quick power outages, I would say around 4:30, but luckily the power restored. But we are seeing some of these, and we really appreciate on social media when you send us photos. You can also send them to newsdesk@WTHR.com so we can kind of share what's happening in the area. But we are seeing some photos of trees snapped in half, unfortunately some all the way across the roadways and on homes, some of these in Columbus. So hopefully once we get those kind of turned around, we can show you here on Facebook Live as well, possibly some of those photos.
I'm just kind of grabbing a few areas here along the edge of these storms. You know, 55 mile per hour winds, Nineveh, in Johnson County, Trafalgar area, still some gusty winds, not necessarily severe status. Our producer, Jennifer, is on with us as well, and she said that we do have crews going to Edinburgh, and I believe Nineveh as well. Is that correct, Jen?
I think Columbus.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are the areas that we think probably were hardest hit right now. But we'll see about Shelby and Rush counties where we had that tornado warning that was issued. We had some very strong winds within that as well, which likely, regardless if there was rotation, it likely did cause some power outages.
And we're also hearing from Indiana State Police. They are reporting a traffic alert for you if you're headed in the area of Johnson County. It looks like I-65 southbound right now is closed at the 82-mile marker. That's about 8 miles south of the exit in Franklin in Johnson County. Falling trees apparently blocking the southbound lanes of the interstate. So that's southbound on I-65, again, 8 miles south of the Franklin exit. Trees along the highway, and therefore they're diverting traffic at exit 90. So if you have loved ones who are traveling, or if you were planning to travel on I-65 in the relative near future, just know that state police have closed I-65 at the 82-mile marker, 8 miles south of the Franklin exit, and they're diverting everyone off at the 90-mile marker, and that's because falling trees blocking the interstate. So affecting travel too, Cal.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure, especially on a Saturday night. And when we have power crews that are heading out, we only have about 2.5 hours left of daylight. It's a Saturday night. The good news is behind the system, the winds are going to shift out of the north, and we're going to see much cooler air moving in. Temperatures should fall into the mid 50s by tomorrow morning. So that's definitely some good news, where we can have the temperatures fall cool enough that you can open up the windows and get some relief from the heat. And thankfully, all of the severe thunderstorm warnings and the tornado warnings have been expired or canceled ahead of time, so that's definitely some good news. But nonetheless, these storms really packed a punch when they moved through. Earlier this morning, of course, we had some strong storms moving through northern Indiana. Those actually produced a lot of lightning, and I believe that there was actually even a house that caught on fire because of lightning, but also some strong winds in Miami County. We've had several storm reports. I can go ahead and put those storm reports on here for you so we can take another look at that. And let me go ahead and pause the radar so it's not distracting. But you can see mainly wind reports. Looks like there was one hail report, which honestly was surprising. I thought we'd have some hail out of Martinsville and Morgan County. Looked like it was going to have some decent hail out of that storm. McCormick's Creek, this one was just 0.07 of an inch of size of hail, which is still below the severe status. That was in Owen County. And go a little farther north here, take a look at Randolph County. This was a report of dime-size hail, 3/4 of an inch, I should say, to make that easier to say. 3/4 of an inch of size of hail. We've been talking a lot about Johnson County, and this just to the north of Nineveh, this area, large areas of trees down, and the storm estimate is around 340, which we did have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for that storm. Here is another one. This is Edinburgh, and this was wind estimate 65 miles per hour. And that is by the public that is reporting that. I do know that I backed up the radar and we looked at least a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. So that unfortunately caused some damage, especially along I-65. Here's another one. Numerous trees down in the area. Highway sign folded over. So that'll be interesting to see what the possible wind was on that. There's not a magnitude given on that one. That was a report that came from Twitter to the National Weather Service. And then here's another one in Shelby County, large trees, tree limbs that is on a house, and that was also through Twitter. We appreciate getting all of these reports via here to the newsroom and also to the National Weather Service. This is how we know what the storm is doing. This is where we know where the storm damage is. You know, it's gotten a lot easier to be able to report these kind of things and letting people know that there is a lot of storm activity that you can let us know about. It really helps us. It helps us get better at what we do, because then we can really evaluate something that's on radar, look at the climatology, and understand it better. So we really greatly appreciate any kind of reports you can bring into us. Here's another report. This was in Decatur County. Large trees down, estimated wind gust of 75 miles per hour or higher. Incredible.
And a reminder too, I know a lot of law enforcement are reminding people too, as we're dealing with all of this damage, remember to stay safe. And if you're driving along, stay clear of any power lines. Don't touch any down lines that may be tangled up into trees, because it can certainly be dangerous and you would hate to see a bad situation become worse. So definitely, as you're going through and cleaning up the storm damage, be careful of that.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. So if you have any other comments you'd like to put on Facebook, that would be great. Do want to just mention a couple other things here. Karen is reporting that there was hail in Nineveh. My son is at Camp Atterbury with the National Guard. He said the wind caused lots of damage. So thank you, Linda, for that report from your son at Camp Atterbury, and thank him for his service. Dakota also reporting that she's pretty sure there was a house fire in Shelby due to lightning. So very possible that we had more lightning strikes causing house fires. Also hail in Glenwood, and that was marble size. And Shelby's asking if is there any more coming in. So before we finish off, I will put it back on a larger view of our radar and taking a look at the past 1 hour. And I'll zoom out. Let me take off the storm reports. So we do have more rain off to the west, and this will be moving in here as well. Right now, not looking like severe, but it is going to be a bit stormy. Could have, I'll put the lightning tracker back on. I took it off because it gets a little cluttered, but a lot of lightning with these storms right now in central Illinois. Zooming in here a little closer, you can see the closer I get in, still about 160 lightning strikes within these storms, and they are all moving into central Indiana. So we'll keep you updated here throughout the evening. If we do need to pop back on broadcast air or also Facebook Live, we're here for you. Again, we always stress to be severe weather aware, and there's a reason why, because we have these kind of reports. And Jenny, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add before we toss it back to our Facebook friends.
I think we're just, continuing to gather those storm reports, and certainly we will share those with you throughout the night on social media and on all our platforms, WTHR.com, and then, of course, we'll be with you at 11, and certainly hope everyone stays safe out there as the cleanup now continues.
Yes, thanks, Jenny. Thanks for coming in and helping out too. And again, we'll pop back on if we need to, but have a great night, stay safe, and have a great rest of your weekend, friends.